Hey everyone, this is Frank from Materialize, and today we're going to use Materialize to look at live social data in Bluesky. I'm going to bring it in with a little bit of a JavaScript bridge that I wrote, put it in some tables in Materialize, and we're going to start building some views over it and looking at social data in interesting ways. Social data is sort of one of the, in my mind, cooler things to look at because it's both live and connected, right? So you actually want to bring data together, join it, and potentially do some interesting recursive traversal stuff as well. But we're going to build up from simple stuff, maybe get to more complicated stuff as we go. But to start, let's just start pulling some data in to Materials. I'll show you how we're going to do that. I'm just going to use something very simple where we create a table, Bsky x text. So it's a table with a single column x, and it's got text as its type, and we're going to bring that in from some data that we're pulling down out of Bluesky. I am going to, I'm going to start running the script first, just so that we can get some data into here, so we can see select count star from Bsky. Yeah, that's some stuff. We can subscribe to it. Let's do that. Oh, the numbers keep going up. All right, that's the rate we're pulling data in. Let's take a moment, give it a chance to hydrate, and we will go and look at the code that's bringing the data in, just to show it off. This is the code. It's JavaScript. I'm not a JavaScript savant, so if you don't like what you see, you think it's wrong, you're probably right. I'm probably wrong. The idea is that we're gonna have two WebSockets. One of them is connected to Bluesky's Jetstream service, which is a simplified, sort of reduced version of the Bluesky Firehose. It's JSON. It doesn't have all of the authenticating Merkle tree structure there, and if you want that, you can connect to the actual AT-Proto feeds. But we're just going to take the data and trust that it's all accurate and stuff like that. You don't have to, but we're going to here. So we'll have a socket connected to the Bluesky data. We'll also have a socket connected to Materialize, WebSocket connected to Materialize. And the idea is that we're going to bundle up all of the JSON that we receive from Bluesky and insert those records into Materialize, essentially as fast as we can. And the gist roughly is going to be having connected and set up some error printing codes. We're going to keep some pending data as a list, potentially empty list. And every time we receive data from the Bluesky socket, we're either going to put it into the pending data to be sent, or if we're not waiting on anything, just send it actually right away. And there's some logic to go and do that. And on the Materialize side, we will have sent data potentially already. And when we receive responses from Materialize that say, particularly there's a ready for query response that comes back saying, whatever happened to the previous command, we're good on the next one at least. And that's the moment we'll look and say, is there anything pending? And if so, let's send it. And if not, let's signal that we're no longer waiting on Materialize for a response. So if we receive any more data in the future, we should just immediately go and send it. So nothing terribly complicated, probably also not terribly correct. So bear with me on that, but it seems to work. We're pulling data in. Let's go check that out again. All right, so we're pulling in a fair bit of data here. Just going to keep pulling it in over the course of this video, and we'll start looking at it soon too. I have some notes off on the side of the screen that I'm going to sort of dance off to go and glance over at to try to see what should we do next. But mostly typing this all by hand is just going to be god awful. So you don't want to see me try to do that. All right, we have a Bsky table. It's got text in it. Let's just put together a view that converts it to JSON, and then we'll build an index on that. The index is going to be an in-memory asset. It's going to say, it's cool all that data you have in your durability layer. Let's actually bring it into memory, keep it resident so it's a lot faster to interact with when we need to. So behind the scenes, this is going to go and spin up a data flow. It's not very interesting data flow. Pulls in text from our storage layer and converts it to JSON and keeps that in memory for us. Mostly this is just to avoid continually rereading from S3 each time we have a new query we want to try out, or keep things a little bit more interactive. So first thing we're going to do, this is JSON. I don't know what you all think about JSON, but well, it's all unstructured, and so I have no idea what's in there. I have a little idea now because I've done this a few times, but we're going to go and bring some logic out that will show us what's in JSON. I'm going to paste this over here and we'll just talk through it first. So we're going to make a view, Bluesky schema, and what we're going to try to do is spell out the key structure that exists amongst all of the objects in here. These are going to take the form of paths. So keys, starting from the root keys that exist, key 1, key 2, key 3, that if you chase them down, you find something in at least one of the objects. And the way we're going to do this is with a recursive query. Basically, as JSON is arbitrarily nested, we don't know how deep it is. So we'll want to repeatedly, I mean, think of this as, pick up all of our JSON objects and ask all of them, hey, what are the keys you all got? Like, anyone, shout out a key, shout out all your keys. And we'll put those keys in place as data, but for each of them, we'll also attach the JSON object dangling off of the value, if you will, of that key, and we'll pursue it recursively and essentially spell out the paths, key 1, what's on the other side of key 1, oh, someone's got a key 2, great, key 3, key 4, and it's really all that we're doing here in our paths common table expression. We're going to have a path that's the prefix, if you will. It starts out totally empty. You can see down here, totally empty with the raw data from Bluesky JSON. But also, if there is already stuff in paths, then JSON each is something that's for each of the keys is going to go and, well, keys and values, I should say. It's going to go and give us a key and a value, and we'll concatenate the path and the key together and keep the value. And having done that recursively until it stops changing, until the iteration stops changing, it's going to be live. We'll then count up how many times have we seen anything and the path associated with it, and have an order by path in there. I don't think that's particularly helpful, but we can do, for example, select star from Bluesky schema, order by path. Oop. Let's see what it looks like. All right. So the type of thing that we get back is apparently we have some 200,000 things in there now. All of them have a root as the empty path. And some of them, 351 of them, have an account, and of those people with accounts, I guess if you have an account, you've got an active DID, durable ID, sequence number. Not everyone has a status. Okay, everyone's got a time. Quite a lot of these records up there have a commit. Great. Actually, we're going to use commits a lot. Most of the commits have an ID. I'm really not actually sure what these are all corresponding to. All commits seem to have a collection. I suppose we could potentially have written a percentage next to each of these to indicate what fraction of them actually have these things, to see if it's a lock or if it's just a happy coincidence. But yeah, you can sort of go through all of these all the way out. And these are every sequence of valid keys that we've seen across all of the objects in the collection. And potentially, if you wanted to, you could maintain this. That's why you could create an index over this and maintain it. And it's relatively expensive to maintain this recursive view because we have, although this information is nice and tidy, the recursive view is actually tracking all the objects attached to them and stuff like that. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to look at it. And I'm really excited to share this exciting query that spells out JSON for you, because it's a lot better than actually looking at the data, trying to understand what could possibly be the right fields to pull out. I use this to go and pull out some relevant fields and line up some views on data that subset the JSON appropriately. So let me go grab that. So here are two of them, for example. We're going to be looking a lot at posts and replies. And these are the views that we came up with. They're posts. Just enter. Posts and replies both come from a collection that is the post feed. And the distinction seems to be whether their record reply is null or not null. When it's not null, there's some exciting information there about what you replied to, and when it is null, seems to indicate that you are a post. I should say, by the way, we're going to do a bunch of data analysis here, but like, it's wrong. Like, there's some of these data indicate that these posts are being corrected or deleted. They're not actually new posts or anything like that. I have no idea how this stuff works. So we're just going to see what we see, and we can dial in the fidelity of our analysis in the future. But for the moment, mostly we're just going to try to show off that SQL makes it pretty easy to try to do this stuff. And if you do change your logic, it's really not that hard. So we've got two views now, one for posts, one for replies. We're also going to take that whole collection of posts, and I've got a little bit of logic here that I sort of stole from somewhere on the internet. That is, how do you get the URL back from one of these things? What, if you actually want to go and see the content that it's talking about, how do you find that? And it turns out, using the durable ID and something archy, I'm not entirely sure what that is, but you can stitch back together a URL that'll allow you to go and say hello to any of these posts that we've seen this information for. We'll see in just a moment, almost certainly, that people reply to posts that aren't in our crawl. We just started it, and if you reply to something from an hour ago, we won't know what you're talking about. I will have an ID for it, but we won't have the content that will allow us to go and track down the URL for it. All right, and let's throw an index on this URLs thing too. We're going to use this a bunch just because these IDs are helpful in terms of equating various things, but the URLs are really important if we actually want to go and see what the content is. Alrighty, so what we're going to do for a little while now is play around with changing data. Let me just throw up some. Here's a subscribe. We can walk while I talk this. These are the counts in the past minute, continually changing, of the number of posts and the number of replies. And the numbers go up and down because we receive more posts and replies, but also this temporal filter here, I'll explain, ages out data. So this is a constraint that says, hey, for as long as the current time is not any bigger than, time in milliseconds divided by 1,000, so that's microseconds divided by 1,000 is time in milliseconds, plus 60,000. We basically give every post a 60-second timeout and say, for as long as the time is less than 60 seconds from your time, we'll keep you, we'll count you. And after that passes, essentially exactly 60 seconds after that microsecond reading there, we'll decrement the count. Again, the post will age out. So these numbers are continually changing here, going up, going down. This could be the type of thing that we want to, when we think about live data, this is going to focus our attention on the most recent action that's going on. We're not so interested in what was going on in Bluesky a month ago. So it might be. That's a different analysis. But for the moment, we're interested in focusing our attention on what's recent. You could do things a few different ways if you wanted to, so I just want to call these out to show them off. Here's a different way of looking at this data, which is we're going to take all of the posts and all of the replies. Just run it. Okay, that's quite a lot. Sorry. We're going to take the posts and replies, divide their time by 60 million, which converts microseconds into minutes, and then we'll count. And what this is going to show us is for each of the minutes that we've been collecting data about, that we've observed in our data, how many records participate in that minute. And you can sort of see, we're seeing similar sorts of numbers here, almost around 2,000. Same down here, these are the replies. And what's different about these is that the data, like a post, for example, is subscribed to this. So you can watch it change. So you can see the bottom number here is changing. The current minute, if you will, is changing. Each post contributes to one of these counts, and that's cool. The count will go up for a little while, and eventually it'll stop changing as the minute rolls forward and all new content lands in the next bucket. You can similarly get a sense for what's changing here, but it misses out on one of the coolest things about social data in my mind, which is although each post lands in exactly 1 minute, what we're really looking for are interactions, right? Posts, replies to replies that span buckets span periods of time. And the temporal filter thing is instead more of like a slider that continually moves and says, you know what, actually the entirety of the last minute, no funny buckets, no weird boundaries, anything like that. The whole last minute, we're just going to keep watching your potentially complicated query as that slider moves forward across all the data. So it's a different approach that lets you look at, particularly look at data across multiple time bins that might be interacting while still keeping a temporal focus on recent activity. And we should see this value lock in. You've probably already seen that while I've been talking. But this hopefully will lock in, and then in a second we'll tick over in just a moment. Yep, there we go. All right, but we're going to stop that. We're not going to think too hard about that. We're just going to think about the interesting logic we want to do, and in some cases we're going to throw a window on it to focus our attention to the results when restricted to data from the most recent minute, 5 minutes, something like that. All right, we're going to put together a view, and this view is over the replies. Basically, there's a bunch of interesting information in replies that I wanted to pull out. This is essentially just about parsing out some of the data and giving it a name, because dancing through all these JSON fields is annoying. So these are replies where we pull out the commit ID for the replies, as well as the ID of the parent, so who is the replying to, and the data also have the root of a conversation as well. So if you chased parents all the way up to the original post, that would be this identifier. We're also going to do that ourselves in some recursive queries, but it's helpfully written down just in the data itself, so that's nice. The DID is a durable ID, it's just the author. And we also going to have a time in milliseconds just to avoid typing quite so many zeros. So what can we do? Let's think about some stuff to do here. I think a pretty plausibly interesting thing is let's see which conversations are most popular. Right, so what we're going to do is take our parsed replies up here, and we're going to select out of them. We're also going to go and look at the URLs, but we're going to select out of replies parsed, and we're going to restrict our attention to the most recent 5 minutes and count, grouping by the root of the conversation. So essentially, for every post, how many people are participating in the past 5 minutes in a conversation, posting a reply that attributes back to this root. So this is, okay, I see a bunch of nulls over here. This is an indicator, unless I've screwed something up terribly, that the most popular of things are actually about things not yet, not captured in our crawl. And with time, hopefully, what will happen is that they will age out in popularity, or like the most recent replies will not be about older content, but will be about more recent content. And we should either expect to see legit URLs start showing up in here, because we will have crawled things that are currently most active, or we can change the query and make it an inner join rather than a left join. Let's double check if we need to. Okay, we're going to need to do an intervention, unfortunately. So let's just make this a inner join, and that should restrict our attention. Okay, so we're getting counts up into the 20s about recent conversations. They were just off screen here. 22 was nudging them out. But we can go see what's currently popular on Bluesky. I should warn you, should have warned you, that this, oh dear. Okay, little bit of reality here. Lots of posts, and it's an interesting point, actually connects the story a little bit, that there's a lot of content posted there, is the same person. So there's a person posting a thread of information. It's not it's informational, and it might be worth checking out, but it's not indicative of a conversation, right? So what can we do about that? Let's do the same query, but instead of counting, we're just going to do a count distinct on author. So we have authors for each of these parsed replies, and this will tell us, instead of how many posts are there, how many distinct accounts are participating in that conversation. So we'll look at another one here. Yeah, New York Times. Yeah, excellent. The second lady is off to Greenland to presumably fulfill some exciting lifelong dream of hers. And you can, I should warn you now, a bunch of these is Bluesky. A bunch of these are going to be a bit more real than cat memes and stuff like that. But you can dive through a few of these and see what's going on out there. Electric car changing equipment. Awesome. Yeah, so these are, in the past 5 minutes or so, the posts from the past, posts from whatever, we're not time gating the URLs, but posts in the context of our crawl that have had the most activity, distinct authors in this case, in the past 5 minutes. And of course, if you want to, you could subscribe to this as well. I'm not going to do that. It makes it a little harder to click on the URLs if you're watching them continually change and wibble wobble around. But yeah, totally. You could watch this live and hit, as soon as some count shoots over 100, or some exciting threshold for like, oh my goodness, something's going on, you could dive over there and take a peek. You might ask, well, is 15, 20, whatever these things were, are those good numbers? I don't know. Is this quite a lot? Is this not very much at all? And what we can do is actually get a histogram of the number of posts. So for each post, there's a number of distinct participants, authors in it, and we get a histogram saying for each number of distinct authors, how many of the posts have that count. For example, how many posts have exactly one distinct author? Not so exciting, right? But 15. Oh, is that impressive or not? Hard to know. But this is the query down here now that's going to select out. Well, first it'll determine for each post the number of distinct authors, and then count how many times do we see each of those numbers. So, for example, we've got apparently this is again in the past 5 minutes. We've got some almost 6,000 posts that just have a single participant. The numbers drop off, not precipitously, but down. There's only at this point 4 posts that had 50. So that 15 number was pretty good, actually. Not all of these are referencing content that we have necessarily. But 15 wasn't a chump number. Pretty good, apparently. And again, you can watch this as well. Over time, you can take off the 5-minute gate too if you want to see broader what types of interactions do different bits of content have. You could totally subscribe to this as well. You don't have to click anything here. So this has given us both local views of posts, right? What's going on with individual posts, and also broad views across all of Bluesky, right? These counts up here are tracked across everything we've pulled down off of Bluesky so far. So not specific to individual posts, continually changing and continually allowing us to connect individual threads of conversation with the broader understanding of, is 15 distinct authors a lot at the moment or not? This happens to be Sunday afternoon. I have no idea if that's a hot time for Bluesky or not. But let's do something a little different, a little more exotic. So number of distinct participants in a conversation. It's interesting. Actually, to be honest, I'm not a social scientist, so I don't actually know what the best indicators are of interaction or authenticity. But here's one that I just made up, which is we have all this nice linkage structure in there. We could look not just for number of participants, distinct participants, but for conversations, which I'm going to describe as posts and replies and replies and replies, where the authorship alternates, right? So, 15 could just be like 15 different people responded to your really exciting joke or something like that. It's not much of a conversation starter necessarily. So we're going to look instead for each post, the longest path of replies coming out of that post, where the length of a reply chain is the number of author alternations, or times the author is different from the post that it's replying to. And here's the thing: it's a with mutual recursive view, and the idea we're going to start with some roots. Those are folks straight out of posts, and we're going to develop going out of the roots down through each of the replies, and we're going to hit all of the replies as we go. We'll keep track of who authored which things and also count up the number of author alternations we've seen so far. In addition, a depth just to try to get a sense for whether this is the same thing, basically, or not. So we'll create that view, and we should just be able to select out of it. Actually, let's do just a little bit more to pretty it up. I'm just going to create another view that selects out of this but joins in the URLs so that we can actually go and look at them if we want to. Great. So let's pull some things out of this linked here. What we're going to do, these are responses for everything, all the posts out there. We don't necessarily want to look at everything. So let's look at the top 10 ordered by the number of responses as alternations. All right, so we've got some posts out there. Let's go check it out. With 14 responses, 14 author alternations. And yeah, certainly seems to be alternating lots. A few different, I don't know what the hell's going on here. But it looks like a real conversation. Yeah, not just a informational post, not just some cat memes. Here's another one. Yeah, it's again, real conversation. Seems to be. A little hard to see from this view whether this actually has lots of fanned out content or not. We're starting at the leaves and looking up, and of course from a leaf back to the root is just a path. But it might actually be many conversations going at the same time. A little hard to know. All of these ones here suggest that whatever's going on in this particular thread just had wasn't particularly branching. But yeah, no, you can sort of superimpose your own understanding of what constitutes meaningful interaction, or if you're looking for live conversations, you could restrict your attention to moments where the response time is less than, 30 seconds or something like that. Again, don't know if that's right or not, but you've got all the data in front of you, and these nice with mutually recursive things allow you to set up the conditions for following these links, and you can evaluate them yourself as you choose. You don't have to bake it into protocols or data collection or anything like that. We've got one last thing to try out. I mean, there's lots of things to try out, of course, but one last thing that I'm going to show you, which is recommendations. So far we've seen a lot of either global aggregates, counts across everything, or individual posts. And one of the cool things about social, again, is that you don't have these silos of information. So we have posts, for example, that someone writes and people respond to, but all those people who respond to that post also respond to other posts. And one take potentially is that if you really liked one post, or liked, if, let's say you responded to one post, you're like, what did people like me who respond to this post? What else did they respond to? Go figure that out. It's a post you might not have heard about. There's no reason you would necessarily have been able to discover that, but by sort of leaning on the premise that other people are like you, behaviorally at least, what are the sorts of things that they seem to go and do, having done this. So we're going to put together just the world's simplest recommendation logic here. And all this is going to do is say, what we'll say here. We are going to, first let's look at the inner query first. We're going to take these replies twice as R1 and R2. And we're going to say, great, for any pair of replies by the same author, right? So we're going to require the two authors match. Replying to different root conversations. So we don't really care if they've replied 5 times in the same thread. A lot of these conversations look like that. It's not exciting. We don't want to recommend that you just keep having the current conversation. It's not new information. So what are the other things that they've gone and participated in? And also we're going to want we're going to want to make sure that we have access to the URL that we are recommending, because we want to recommend you go there. And we're going to do some time boxing here as well, past 5 minutes. So we're going to do, we're just going to count up essentially how many times do we see a distinct author responding to some post from R1, also responding to R2, and the URLs in there as well. Then having done that, okay, so now we have a count for each of these things. How many times do people interact with both of these? Then for any one root R1, let's find the awesomest, find the other URL, the other post with the highest number of shared links. So for all of your respondents, if each of them get to contribute or not to some other post by replying to it, which are the top posts to check out over there. Really not particularly sophisticated. More sophisticated, you might put in some more intelligent information retrieval metrics on top of this to not just count the number. You might want to see if all of your respondents go into a thing. Good to know. You might also throw in some time orientation here too, like if they went and replied to it after having replied to your post, that's an indication that maybe that's what you should go and do next. Maybe it's not true if they did it before replying to this post. Let's see. Maybe you want to go backwards in time and figure out where did they come from. Different analyses, of course. So what do we pull out of here? Let's. So again, this is for every page out there. What's recommended, and all we're going to do is just write a little query that asks, okay, I don't know what's going on, but what's most recommendable? So we're just going to pull from all of this recommended view and also URLs so that we can talk about where we came from. Who's got the biggest recommendations? All right. So the first thing here is the recommended URL, and the second thing is the recommended from URL. These numbers shared is not particularly compelling at the moment. But okay, well this was recommended because the respondents here are apparently relatively in common with respondents to this post. And that checks out. I cannot for the life of me tell you what this is about other than I'm going to guess alcohol. But yeah, you could take the same information here. Let's see if we can live do some of this. I don't actually have this in a buffer yet, but we could take recommended, and we could join it with our top hits, if you will. Like our remember we had these distinct conversations going on that were pretty exciting. This stuff here, where we counted the distinct authors, talked about their whatever, give the URL for the conversations with the most distinct authors. Let's pull one of these up again, and we'll try to figure out. Okay, well, we've got at least one. I guess we need to change this to be an inner join again, just to make everything interesting. So we've got these URLs that are sort of the most active in terms of, let's say, distinct participants. Should be able to, if we can type this out, should be able to join this with our recommendations. I just need to remember what all the field names were in these recommendations. Recommended on, and we're going to join on. We're interested in the root SID equaling R1. I believe that's right. And let's see, does this just gonna work? No. All right. So URL. Great. So we're going to do urls.url, and we don't really. That's a good point, actually. The first thing is going to be the URL of the popular page, urls.url, and then we're also going to want recommended.url, and let's also say shared, which is the number of times folks who were at that first place went and responded to the second one. Recommended.shared must, all right, so we've got count 1, 2, 3, so we're going to do a fourth. So here's the most popular page that we happen to have access to. And yep, okay. familiar with the author, but I'm familiar with this character. Let's see where they went. Or sorry. Oh, okay. So everyone knows who this person is. This is obviously top person on Bluesky. It's amazing. But yeah, a lot of people who are over here. 24 of them at least. 24 of them exactly. In fact, at that particular time, of these nice people down here, then went over and. Well, okay, there's not very much going on over here, but possibly that's because I've hidden some things. What's going on? Okay, content warning. Not sure this is that sort of stream. Yes, it is. Okay, but sort of interesting. Well, okay, sorry. That time window is imperfect, of course. Things have changed. But yeah, there are 5 responses and only 4 things here. I'm not entirely sure what we're looking at. But a delightful property of Materialize is you can dive in and actually just try to figure that out. You can go and all of those 24 contributors, they're in there. They're in the data. You can go figure out exactly what they are responded, where they are in response to, what was their post. In particular, because AT-Proto is how it is, you can actually go and track down the authenticated, like they each have a distinct ID, figure out what it is, and try to figure out what's going on here. Let's look at another one, because I don't really like the fact that we only saw 5 things there. So here's another fairly active post. Yes, all right. Well, good news these days. Yeah, well, you can totally imagine how folks participating in this conversation might then have opinions about this conversation. And I think I'll leave you all with that. I hope to be able to leave and return to this country, so I'm not going to do too much more discussion about what we're looking at. But I do hope that this has shown off that social data in Materialize all sort of checks out. There's lots of interesting, cool things that you can do with it, and sort of excited to invite you to go and do the same. If you hop over to materialize.com, you can grab a copy of Materialize. There's a self-managed community edition that comes with, for free, up to certain data volume limits that this demo fits perfectly within. Go grab a copy, try it out. You can do all this yourself. Just need your own computer, some Kubernetes stuff to get you going. But yeah. So hope that's been thought-provoking. Certainly thought-provoking for me. I'm gonna go check out what's going on with Mark Hamill and his 5 responses. That doesn't seem right. But yeah, let me know if you've got any questions too. All this stuff works, and if you're curious how to do something interesting, something slightly different, definitely reach out. Let me know. I'm super interested in the live social data analysis space, tracking, understanding what conversations look like, and how to draw out better understandings of real interactions as opposed to filthy bots just posting things, and trying to surface authentic information upwards to people. With that, cheers.